What's up, you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here, and in today's video we're going to talk about a series of cards that in my opinion are pretty underrated. They've all had their sort of short time in the spotlight in the metagame, but they are actually not bad cards, and you might even be running a deck that can make good use of them, and those are the Crush cards. So, this is Crush card. Oh wait, that's the old one. Here's the new one. Crush Guard Virus. So let's talk a little bit about this card. This card is used by Seto Kaiba in the anime, and basically it involved him tributing a dark monster with 1,000 or less attack and destroyed all of his opponent's monsters that had 1,500 or more attack, aka all the powerful monsters in their deck. And when this card came out in the TCG, it actually had a really similar effect. So let's actually take a look here. This is the old version, the gold rare version. I actually pulled one of these as a kid. Oh, I was so lucky. Tribute one dark monster with 1,000 or less attack. Check all monsters your opponent controls in your opponent's hand and all cards they draw until the end of your opponent's third turn after this card's activation, and destroy all monsters with 1,500 or more attack. This effect is incredibly powerful. I mean, when you consider just how many small dark monsters there are at the time, you know, Sangin was a popular one because it would also get a search when it left the field. And then destroying all your opponent's strong monsters, that's crazy. But unfortunately, this card ended up banned, and it got an errata later on into this, which this is the new Crush Card Virus. Tribute one dark monster with 1,000 or less attack. Your opponent takes no damage until the end of the next turn after this card resolves. Also, look at your opponent's hand and all monsters they control, and if you do, destroy the monsters among them with 1,500 or more attack. Then your opponent can destroy up to 3 monsters with 1,500 or more attack in their deck. This is nerfed, clearly, in a couple of different ways, but let's break the card down anyway. So, a monster that's dark and has 1,000 or less attack points. What comes to mind here? Burning Abyss. So, Burning Abyss monsters all tend to be rather small. You've got Tour Guide, you've got Skarm, and a few others. Now, some of them, like I think Graph, are like, you know, more than 1,000 attack points, but they still have plenty of small ones. And this destroys all your opponent's monsters and the ones in their hand that have 1,500 or more attack. That's really crazy. This was actually used in Necroz format by Burning Abyss as a way to kind of destroy a lot of Necroz's monsters before they could use their effects and things like that. So it was really strong. And even to this day, I mean, I think that it's still a really powerful card. You can actually destroy, you know, let's take True Dracos. You can destroy the True Dracos in their hand. Masterpiece and, you know, Dynamite Knight and Majesty Maiden, all those things in their hand, they can die before they even get to use them. And, you know, that goes for lots of popular meta decks. They have boss monsters and they just die. The weakness, of course, though, is that some decks prefer for their monsters to die, actually. You know, some decks, like, get floating effects when their monsters die. And then there's that nasty last sentence where your opponent gets to pick, which I don't understand, can pick to send up to 3 monsters from their deck to the grave, destroy them. That's so weird to me because, you know, if your opponent doesn't want to do it, they're just not going to do it. And if they do it, it's because it helps them. So they're going to be sending cards that either float or they just want in the grave. So the errata of this card clearly takes a lot of the power out of it. It kind of becomes more of a niche card. And Burning Abyss is one of the only decks that can really make great use of it. There are a few others that come to mind, but most of the other decks I'm talking about in this video, they can use the other Crush card siblings. So let's hop into those. The next one is Deck Devastation Virus. It's actually my personal favorite, I think, of this list. You tribute a dark monster with 2,000 or more attack, so the opposite of Crush card. Instead of a small dark monster, you're tributing a really big one. Check your opponent's hand, all monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of your opponent's third turn after this card's activation, and destroy all monsters with 1,500 or less attack. So literally the opposite. Tribute a big monster and destroy all your opponent's little monsters. Ironically, though, this in some cases is a lot better than, you know, Crush Card Virus. When you consider that in a lot of decks today, they revolve around a lot of certain small monsters that they use to combo off. You know, think of just those little monsters that are used as tuners, and Zodiac Ratpear, you know, he's a fan favorite. All those kinds of cards are really small monsters, and if you can destroy all the ones in your opponent's hand and on the field, you can cut off like a Sinker or an Xyz play and take a lot of resources out of their hand. This can even destroy hand traps because pretty much every hand trap has less than 1,500 attack. So this is actually really cool. The only problem, though, is you have to have a dark monster with 2,000 or more attack. And that means that it's probably a dark monster that took some commitment to get out on the field. So you can see where sort of the problem comes in here. But there are a lot of decks that focus on summoning big dark monsters. Dark Magician comes to mind. Also, Dark Lords. Dark World can continue to resummon Grapha, and this was actually one of their more powerful blowout cards. It and the next card I'm going to show you guys, or one of the next cards I'm going to show you guys. And there are even a few others. Let's see. Cosmos could technically use this. I mean, Dark Destroyer's got a lot of attack points. What else comes to mind? Black Wings. A lot of their synchros are, dark monsters that have lots of attack. And this can be a really disruptive card. What's great about this and all of the Crush cards is that they're chainable. So whenever your opponent maybe goes to use a Dark Hole or even just something that would remove your monster from the field, like, I don't know, Mirror Force, you can chain this, and then you get to your dark monster leaves the field, and then kaboom, like your opponent's hand and field gets completely messed up. Next card then is a similar one, Full Force Virus, with a slightly different twist as well. So you tribute a dark monster with 2,000 or more defense instead of attack, which doesn't change much, but anyway, you check your opponent's hand, everything they control, and all cards they draw until the end of their third turn. After this card's activation, destroy all monsters with 1,500 or less defense. So what's interesting about this card is I generally tend to think that Deck Devastation's kind of the better card, because attack tends to be more relevant than defense. But what you will find out is that many boss monsters in the game, many powerful monsters, will still actually have lower defense than they do attack. And a lot of small monsters that have small attack also just have small defense. So in some cases, this card can actually hit more cards than Deck Devastation can. What's cool about it too is that the dark monster has to have 2,000 more defense. This doesn't change a whole lot. I think it actually makes it a little bit more restrictive to activate though. But all in all, I mean, most of the same decks that can use this, Dark Magician, Dark Lords, Dark World, Cosmos, Black Wings, they can use both. So this is really neat. I think that it pretty much fills the same void that Deck Devi does. So the one that you run is almost kind of up to preference. I do like the art though. It's got the bat, kind of weird but neat. And the last one deviates just a little bit, and that's Eradicator Epidemic Virus. And besides Crush Guard Virus, it's the only one on the ban list, so it's limited to one. You tribute a dark monster with 2,500 or more attack, so getting a little bit tougher. And you choose spell or trap cards. Then you check your opponent's all their set spell and trap cards. And the ones face up on the field, and your opponent's hand, and then everything they draw for 3 turns, and destroy all cards of the chosen type. So this card was actually meta relevant for a while because outside of Dark Worlds using it, it was actually used in the Dragon Ruler format because spellbooks were completely spell reliant. So you could make number 11, Big Eye, who is a big dark monster with 2,600 attack, and you tribute it with Eradicator Epidemic Virus, and you pick spells, and you destroy all of your opponent's spellbook spells, and they're basically unable to play, and they can't even, if they draw them over the next few turns, it's still, you get the picture. So what's really cool, I think, about all of the virus cards is just the fact that, they, like I said, are chainable. So whenever your monster is about to get killed by your opponent, you can just use a virus and kind of screw them up. And it also, all of them except for the current Crush card, last for 3 turns. So you're getting to see what's in your opponent's hand and the cards they draw for the next few turns and just destroy whatever fits the criteria. And even if you don't get to destroy it, you still get to see it. And we all know that knowledge is power in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I really think that the virus cards they're neat. I think that people just kind of forget about them, but they're fun cards. And if you're running any of the decks that can use them, I mean, even some obscure decks, like Abyss Actors, for example, they have some large dark monsters that have high attack. They can make use of this card. So not this card in particular, but most of the cards. So I think that the virus card is just something that people don't think about. Maybe if an upcoming meta deck ends up being dark based, it can make use of this, and that would be really cool too. And I'm sure that there are loads of decks that I'm actually forgetting about that can use this. Red Eyes, for example, can use some of these cards. So yeah. That's all. I just thought I would bring you guys' attention to these cards. I think that they're cool. They're fun cards that I like to use when I was playing Black Wings and stuff. And I kind of want to tech one in Dark Magician just for funsies. So let me know, what decks have you used these cards in? Do you think that they're useful? Could they possibly be underrated? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And that's going to conclude the video. So typical end of video plugs. If you want to support me, you can buy a Team APS playmat or a Team APS shirt on my Teespring store. You can also join the Team APS Discord, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and I'm giving away a box of Battles of Legend, Light's Revenge, thanks to TCG Player. So check out the description for the link to enter that. It's going to be it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.